I settle into the quiet of the room with you. The day loosens its hold. Little noises fade. A lamp sends a soft circle of light. Shadows stretch and soften at the edges. The air feels cooler by the window. Blankets hold a familiar weight. I breathe slowly. The rhythm of the breath becomes a small, steady anchor. I invite a gentle attention. No effort to solve anything. No need to replay events. We simply make space. Space for healing. Space for mercy. Space for hope. All of this waits without forcing. I speak softly. My voice keeps an even pace. Each sentence moves like a slow step. Before we begin the reading, I guide us through a short settling. Sit or lie down in a way that feels safe. Let the shoulders drop. Let the jaw unclench. Allow the hands to rest where they choose. If closing the eyes feels restful, close them now. If it feels better to keep them open, gaze softly on a point of light. The position does not matter. The presence matters. I ask the breath to become simple and kind. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold for a beat. Exhale for 6 counts. The longer exhale eases tension. I repeat this twice. The body answers with small changes. Muscles soften. A sense of calm spreads from the chest to the limbs. If thoughts appear, they pass like clouds. Each return to the breath is a gentle choice. No judgment follows. I set an intention for this time. We come not to fix everything at once. We come to receive, to listen, to rest in a truth that offers comfort. Mercy meets us here. Grace rests lightly, like morning dew. Hope settles like a warm blanket. The mind may still hold worries. That is okay. Bring them to the edge of awareness and let them sit without insisting on solutions. Light plays a role in rest. If a bright light remains, I dim it now. If darkness feels heavy, permit one low lamp to stay. Candlelight is welcome, though not necessary. The visual softness aligns with the slower pace of the voice. The room breathes with us. Curtains and shutters keep the world distant for a time. Sounds from outside become background, part of the evening's hush rather than disruption. I speak about connection. Healing often appears where love and truth meet quietly. The Bible holds many gentle promises. Tonight I will read with a slow and steady voice. Each line will be spoken as an invitation to rest deeper, not to debate, not to dissect, simply to listen and to be held. The passages chosen carry comfort. They carry hands that lift and eyes that watch over the weary. I remind myself and you that silence is also a companion. Between sentences, let there be space. Between verses, let there be room for breath. The words do not rush to fill the gaps. The stillness receives them. If tears come, allow them. If relief appears as a small sigh, notice it. If sleep arrives, that is welcome too. This hour makes room for all honest responses. There are no expectations here, no measure of how much progress should occur. The aim is presence. The aim is to let grace speak in a voice that does not demand. I keep my tone steady. I slow my pace. Each phrase is clear and unhurried. The cadence becomes a soft lullaby for anxious thoughts. The rhythm invites muscles to loosen. The voice becomes a steady hand on the shoulder. I mention the importance of gentle posture for the spine. If lying down, let the head rest in a natural position. If sitting, allow the back to be supported by a pillow. A slight lift under the knees can ease the lower back. A small weight over the abdomen, like a folded blanket, can provide a sense of grounding. These small comforts help the body say yes to rest. I encourage an inner posture too. Let curiosity soften into trust. Let questioning ease into openness. The heart does not need to be perfect to receive healing. It simply needs honesty. Bring what you feel without disguise. Bring the small burdens and the large ones. Place them in a quiet corner of your mind as we begin. Hold them there, gently. They do not have to be solved now. I speak a short invitation to recall names and faces that matter. Think of one person who reflects warmth for you. Think of a memory where kindness touched you. Let that image come briefly like a lantern. Hold it for a breath. Let it remind you that mercy is real and often small. This practice opens the spirit to the word that follows. I give a moment to let gratitude rise. However small, it could be the taste of water this evening, a text from a friend, the roof above, or the simple fact of breath. Naming one or two small gifts can shift the heart toward openness. Gratitude is not a denial of pain. It is a doorway that lets light in on a night that feels thick. I offer reassurance. The Bible speaks of rest and care. I will choose words that soothe rather than confuse. Each passage will be read slowly and with a clear, gentle cadence. I will pause to let the meaning settle. I will not rush into interpretation. I will allow the phrases themselves to work quietly in the spaces they create. I describe the path we will follow in this short time. A brief welcome, a calming practice, a reading of comforting passages, and a soft blessing at the end. The blessing will be simple and deliberate. It will rest on the promises already heard. It will leave a sense of direction rather than pressure. The final moments will be for lingering silence or sleep. Whichever comes, I am mindful of weary minds tonight. If imagery grows too dense, the voice will simplify. If any sentence feels heavy, it will be trimmed back. The priority is ease. Each paragraph aims to be tactile. I use small images, a blanket, a lamp, breath, like a slow tide. These details help the imagination relax rather than race. I keep watch over the tempo. A slow reading rhythm soothes the nervous system. The long vowels of certain words hang in the air. The consonants fade, like pebbles dropped into a still pond. Silence between phrases becomes its own gentle note. This is intentional. The calm that follows is not accidental. I remind that hope in Christ grounds this hour, not as doctrine to debate, but as a presence that accompanies. Christ's care is like steady light at the bedside. It does not erase pain by force. It stands with the weary and the small. It offers rest as a gift. Tonight we rest into that care. I conclude this invitation with a short pause. In this pause, take one final breath that reaches the belly. Let the shoulders drop fully. Let the jaw soften. Let the heartbeat slow a little. Allow the mind to settle like a stone, finding its place. When you feel ready, I will begin the reading. I will keep my voice low and even. We will listen as if the words were a soft hand on the brow. We will let the passages do their gentle work. If sleep comes, it will be a gracious companion. If alertness remains, the words will continue their slow unfolding. Now we move into the first passage. I place my opening prayer into a brief moment of silence and then read. The room leans in. The night listens. The promise of rest moves closer. Together, we explore forgiveness, grace, and peace. The lamp keeps a soft circle. The room is still. I speak slowly. My voice is steady and calm. Each word is offered like a small blessing. I begin with a passage that rests the heart. The words speak of a shepherd who walks beside the sheep. Green pastures come into view. Quiet waters appear. The shepherd leads with care, not force. Fear loosens its grip. The path bends toward rest. Even in hartfelles, there is a steady presence. The presence comforts without hurry. It does not demand answers. It simply keeps watch. I let that image sit. The breath follows the image. Inhale, exhale, pause. Next, I offer a passage about forgiveness. The tone is gentle. The text says that wrongs can be brought where light already shines. Confession does not bring shame alone. It opens a door. Forgiveness is not a quick fix. It is a slow unbinding. Mercy comes like rain on dry ground. I read this slowly, letting each sentence fall like soft rain. The rhythm eases the jaw, softens the chest. A small relief spreads through the ribs. If record appears, it can be held without collapse. Regret meets grace. The meeting is quiet and real. I move to words about grace. The language leans toward ease. Grace is described as a hand that reaches before we call. It arrives in small things. A shared bread, a warm blanket, a remembered kindness. Grace does not tally faults. It covers wounds like a gentle cloth. The mind may seek to count merits. Tonight, we let counting rest. Grace is not earned in this hour. It is received. I pause between phrases and let the quiet collect them. The room breathes with us. Then I speak of peace. The passage invites a simple exchange. Anxiety offers its burden. Peace is given in place of it. The mind is asked to present concerns like small leaves on a stream. The stream carries them away. The heart grows less tight. This peace does not erase memory. It changes how weight is carried. The body recognizes this change. Muscles relax a touch more. The shoulders drop. The hands unclench. I linger on the promise. The silence after each line deepens the sense of calm. I do not rush commentary. The words read themselves. My role is to be a steady voice and a patient listener. I breathe with the pace of the lines. When heavy thoughts surface, I invite them to rest at the edge of awareness. They are not banished. They are given room. The reading continues as a soft accompaniment to that space. A brief moment follows each passage. I count 4 slow breaths in the pause. In this calculus of stillness, each breath matters. The body tunes its rhythm to the voice. The mind lowers its guard. If tears come, they fall quietly. If sleep arrives, it is a welcome friend. If a small stir of hope glows, I notice it without stirring. I include an image of hands, not in loud motion, but as a gentle touch, hands that soothe a fevered brow, hands that steady without pushing. This view helps the mind anchor. Forgiveness moves like that hand. Grace follows. Peace rests like a palm against the heart. The imagery keeps the scene simple and tactile. I pay attention to language that soothes. Words are short and soft. Sentences have room to breathe. Repetition is sparse. Each sentence serves a single, kind purpose. I avoid dense ideas. The aim is comfort. The aim is rest. The voice is a steady lamp on a dark stair. I remind gently of a truth that carries through these lines. Being known does not mean being judged without mercy. Being honest does not invite abandonment. The passages describe a steady care that stays near the fragile parts. Such care moves slowly and surely, like tide water smoothing a stone. The room absorbs this thought. The breath lengthens. A small ease spreads under the sternum. I offer a quiet invitation. Think of one small wrong you long to lay down. Picture it as a stone in the hand. Place the stone into a shallow stream in the mind. Watch the water take it. The current does not rush. It simply carries what is offered. That offering is enough for this night. No need to unpack all the layers. One small act of release is enough for now. After the invitation, I read a passage about rest. The tone is tender. The words call the weary to come and find shade. The call is not harsh. It is an embrace. The night cushions the plea. The listener does not have to prove anything. Rest is a gift, not a reward. I speak this slowly. And let silence follow. The chest loosens a fraction more. A tiny sigh may escape. Let it be so. I fold in a short reflection on thankfulness. Not a grand list. 1 or 2 small things. The taste of warm tea. A kind note. The fact of breath this evening. Naming these soft things is an invitation for the soul to open a little wider. Gratitude does not erase pain. It balances the view. It brings a gentle light to the edges of the dark. I then offer a moment for quiet prayer, not as a recitation, but as a listening. I do not speak many words. I listen for a single, small phrase that rises naturally. It might be a plea, a sigh, a thank you. Allow the phrase to float up without force. It need not be ornate. Simple words carry well in the hush. The final passage this evening circles back to presence. It says that a faithful gaze watches over the small hours. It promises protection that does not alarm but reassures. The language is warm and unhurried. I read slowly, letting the cadence sink in. There is calm in the repetition of the promise. Sleep and wake both rest under this care. I take a long pause after that reading. The silence is full. The lamp glows a little softer. I keep my voice low, as if not to break the room's fragile stillness. The pause invites lingering thoughts to settle. If the body leans towards sleep, the pause becomes a cushion. If the mind remains aware, the pause becomes a space for quiet conversation with God. Before closing this part, I offer a simple benediction, not a complex prayer, a brief sending of peace. May rest find the tired parts. May mercy meet regret. May grace soften the edges of worry. May peace settle like a gentle blanket. I speak this as a blessing that rests on the passages we have heard. I end with an intentional silence. The silence holds the words and lets them do their soft work. If sleep comes, let it be welcome. If wakefulness stays, let it be gentle. The next time the voice returns, it will pick up from this hush. For now, the night keeps its vigil. I close my voice with a slow breath. The lamp keeps its glow a moment longer. The room listens. The promise of care remains near. The hour leans toward rest. I settle my voice low again. I ask for one deep breath with you. Inhale slowly. Hold for a quiet beat. Exhale long and soft. The breath finds the body. The breath finds stillness. Notice the room around you. The lamp offers a gentle circle. Shadows keep their calm. The air feels neither sharp nor heavy. In this small space, I remind us both that God is near. God listens. God waits without hurry. There is no need to perform. There is only the opening of a heart. I speak of presence in simple terms. Presence is not a busy thing. It is steady and small. It is like a light kept low at the bedside. It is like a hand resting on a shoulder without pressure. God's presence stays. God hears what we cannot say out loud. As the words I read rest on the air, God receives them. The act of listening happens quietly, as a hush that settles. Now we turn to a gentle truth. We all need forgiveness. This is not a judgment. It is a human fact. It is also a doorway. Acknowledging the need opens the heart to healing. The moment of recognition is soft. It is not an accusation. It is a simple naming of what weighs the chest down. I guide us to notice the small places where forgiveness is needed. Think of a slight regret, a harsh word that lingered, a promise left unkept, a kindness forgone. See one of these things as if it were a small object in the palm of the hand. Notice its weight. Do not try to fix it yet. Just feel its presence. Breathe again with attention. Let the inhale reach the belly. Let the exhale release any tightness around the ribs. With each breath, the object in the hand grows lighter. The act of naming does not add shame. It simply brings the matter into light. I read from the scriptures in this hush. The passage I choose speaks of returning and of mercy. It uses images of gentle tending, of wounds that are noticed and tended, not hidden. The language is simple and kind. It offers a picture of one who leans in to listen rather than to condemn. As the words land, Imagine them like warm water poured over a bruised place. The water does not scold, it soothes. You may prefer to remain silent. That is fine. If a small phrase rises, use it. A single whisper of sorry, a brief one-word plea, a thank you for being heard. Say it in the mind. Say it aloud if that feels safer. The form matters less than the honesty. God hears without need for grand speech. I avoid heavy language here. Forgiveness is not explained as a list of rules. It is presented as a meeting where truth and mercy come together. The heart that opens is met by a steady gaze. There is care that does not flinch from our faults. There is patience that does not demand a perfect explanation. Consider now a simple practice. Picture a shallow bowl of water between your hands. Place the small object you regret or you're failing into the bowl. Watch how the water receives it. The surface ripples gently and then stills. The bowl holds both the thing and the stillness. This image is not a magic trick. It is a way to allow the mind to give up clutching. Let the fingers of the imagination relax. The object sits. The water keeps it. As I read, I let silence follow. Silence is part of the reading. It is where the heart can answer. In that quiet, know again that God stays. God's listening is not hurried. It is like someone sitting very near in the dark, breathing with you, keeping time. If regret has been a companion for a long while, bring only a small piece tonight. This hour is not for a full cataloguing. It is for one honest act. One small offering is enough. Place that piece into the bowl of water. Watch the small waves. Breathe. Allow the shoulders to soften. I sometimes suggest words for those who find speech hard. They are small and simple. They are not meant to repeat, but to guide. A single sentence can be, I need help, or I am sorry, or please be near. If even those feel too much, hold the thought like a coin in the mouth of the mind. Keep it close and quiet. God reads more than our sentences. God reads the turning of the heart. There is mercy for long-standing guilt. Mercy often arrives slowly, like dawn through curtains. It does not bulldoze away the past. It reaches under the weight and lifts gently. The lifting can feel almost imperceptible at first. Notice the looseness when it comes, a jaw that unclenches, a breath that expands a little more, a small unclenching in the chest. Let these be taken as signs of movement rather than final fixes. I remind us that forgiveness has a rhythm. It is not a one-time event in every case. Sometimes it is a practice small, repeated acts of laying things down. Tonight's small offering begins that rhythm. There may be days ahead that ask for more gentle attention. That is okay. The pace belongs to the one who listens with a steady heart. I read again, choosing lines that reflect welcome more than demand. The words describe an invitation to bring our burdens. The invitation is tender. It uses imagery of rest and of being carried. As each phrase lands, imagine a hand lifting the small object from your palm and placing it on a soft cloth. The cloth cradles it. It does not toss it away. It treats the thing with care. There is also a quiet about confessing to another, Sometimes a quiet conversation with a trusted person helps. Tonight may not be the time for that. If it is, hold the thought like a light at the edge of the room. If not, keep the offering between the heart and the quiet presence here. I guide the breathing once more. Inhale slowly, gather the thing gently in the mind. Exhale and imagine the object setting down. The breath becomes a small bridge. It carries a piece of what you cannot bear alone. Each exhale repeats the movement of placing down. If tears come, let them flow. They are not a sign of failure. They are a language of the body learning to let go. If the eyes remain dry, that is as welcome. The body has many ways of responding. Trust its signals rather than judge them. There is relief that is not loud. It is like a small door opening inside the ribs. The space does not fill with unexpected joy. It simply widens, allowing the breath to move in a less crowded place. Notice that space. Rest there for a moment. I do not press for thanksgiving as a required step. If gratitude uppers, it is welcome. If not, that is fine. For some, the first gift after acknowledgement is just less pain. That is grace too. Before I finish this section, I offer a short, direct benediction. May the simple act of naming ease the load a little. May the steady presence of God turn toward the places that ache. May mercy meet the small and large faults alike. May forgiveness begin with one honest breath. I place a silence. After those words, the silence holds the benediction like a soft shawl. In that quiet, rest if you can. If sleep comes, let it be. If wakefulness remains, let this quiet be a companion for the night. When the voice returns in the next part, it will pick up from this calm. We will move gently onward. For now, the bowl sits on the bedside table. The water keeps its stillness. The lamp keeps its low light. The presence that listens remains close. I sit with the lamp low and the Bible in my lap. I read to you each night. A slow and steady voice at the bedside. Tonight, I stay with a single, gentle truth. We all stumble. Vi all That fact does not surprise God. It does not shock the care that watches over us. The words I bring are soft invitations to life without carrying every fault like a burning coal. Mistakes arrive in so many small shapes. A hurried word that cuts. A promise left to fray. A kindness postponed. A choice that later looks different in the light. These things belong to being human. They do not make a person unworthy of rest. They call only for mercy and a willingness to let go, piece by piece. The scripture I turn to tonight asks a simple posture. It asks not to judge harshly. It asks to stop the quick condemning. It asks to forgive so that forgiveness can come back. It is not an instruction that adds weight. It is a hand offered to loosen the load. I speak the meaning softly. The command to forgive is a door. The act of passing through that door opens unexpected room. Forgiving others begins with seeing them as fragile. When I remember my own missteps, my view softens. What once looked like spite can become tiredness. What seemed like neglect sometimes looks like fear. This shift does not excuse harm. It changes how the heart holds it. A softer hold allows breath to move. Compassion does not erase boundaries. It makes them honest and less like armor that hardens the chest. Self-forgiveness often feels harder. Shame can be quiet and persistent. It sits at the ribs like a small stone. The heart learns to identify with the mistake. It repeats the error as proof of unworthiness. Tonight, I ask you to imagine unhooking that tight belief by taking one small, deliberate breath. Inhale. Name the memory in a few words without embellishment. Exhale, and imagine giving that memory a new resting place, not forgotten, not ignored, but held differently. I invite a short, practical image. Picture an old coat hung on a peg. The coat carries the smell of many days. It is heavy from weather and small stains. Forgiveness is like unbuttoning that coat and handing it to someone who will wash it and mend the tears. You do not have to wear it again tonight. You do not have to examine every stain in the lamplight. The simple act of taking it off changes how straight the shoulders sit. There is a freedom in admitting limitation. I read slowly so that the admission is not a demand. The voice does not push toward perfection. It names our smallness with tenderness. When mistakes surface, they often bring a lesson. Sometimes they bring only fatigue. Both are enough to ask for mercy. Mercy does not tally merits. It looks at the whole person and supplies what is needed to keep living another day. Forgiveness toward others and toward self travels on similar paths. Both begin with seeing truth without weaponizing it. Both begin with a refusal to hold the incident as a permanent verdict. Both require small, repeated choices. Let tonight be one such choice. Let tonight be a practice of placing one regret on a different shelf. Not to deny its significance, instead to alter its weight. A quiet practice can help. Hold one regret lightly in the imagination. Trace its edges without sharpening them. Think of one small reparative next step. If such a step is possible. If not, think of a phrase to carry you forward. A short sentence that fits in the palm of the mind. It might be as small as "I will try again tomorrow." Keep the phrase simple and true. Say it once, with kindness, and breathe. Often the hardest part is the inner judge. That voice repeats faults like a litany. It promises further collapse. If forgiveness is given, this inner judge mistakes vigilance for care. Vigilance becomes a prison when left unchecked. The scripture I read reminds me that refusing to judge harshly does not remove prudence. It replaces punishment with repair. It allows for careful choices that are not rooted in shame. Grace arrives as quiet help. It does not fling open a heaven of immediate forgetting. Rather, it arrives as steady companionship. It is a hand that steadies the step. After a stumble, it brings small practical changes. Sleep needs extra softness. Relationships need honest. Calm words at a better time. Tasks need a moment of apology and the willingness to try differently. Grace gives room to do these things without fear, that one misstep defines the whole life. I keep my voice even because the body listens to tone as much as content. The heart takes hints from rhythm. A steady rhythm suggests safety. The reading does not rush you into confession. It invites a calm naming. It offers a space where mistakes can be held and put down. not catalogued for a later collapse. There is a quiet power to forgiving oneself. It is not self-indulgence. It is the honest act of recognizing that holding unrelenting guilt often harms those we love and ourselves. Releasing a part of that guilt can improve how we show up tomorrow. The choice to forgive can make room for better habits. It can soften how we speak to a child, a partner, or a friend. That softening becomes a small ripple that reaches out further than the initial wrong ever could. Forgiving others can be slow. It can require boundaries to keep the heart safe. Forgiveness is not necessarily reconciliation. It can exist alongside careful distance. This distinction protects well-being while still loosening the inner grip of anger. To forgive without exposing oneself to harm is a prudent, gentle art. The Bible calls us to this art with tenderness rather than harshness. I give a moment here to breathe with the idea of mercy. Imagine a low candle between two hands. The candle's light is steady and not flashy. Mercy is like that light. It lets you see without blinding. It warms without burning. Bring your gaze to that flame for a breath. Let the chest loosen a fraction. Let the shoulders drop. The simple act of seeing the light can change the evening. If a name or a hurt rises, do not force it to an explanation tonight. A single act of resting that piece differently is a beginning. Let the thought be named, offered a small space, and left there. The mind can return to the same spot later, with more time and a clearer head. For now, choose the single, deliberate act of release. This smallness honors the night and your need for rest. I close this part with a short blessing. May forgiveness come gently. May it meet the places that feel tight and loosen them a little. May mercy follow the footsteps of the weary. May grace give rest to the shoulders that have carried too much. Lay one small regret down tonight and let the breath be your witness. The lamp sits low. The page rests in silence. When I return, we will take one more step together. Still slow, still kind. For now, keep the soft light in your mind and let sleep gather around it like a blanket. I settle the Bible on my lap and let the room hold its breath. The light stays low. The voice keeps even and soft. I name a simple truth first. Grace comes as a gift. It does not arrive because someone keeps a list. It does not depend on a long record of worthiness. It comes without tallying merits. I say this slowly so the words can land gently. I speak of a passage that has rested many hearts. It says salvation is a gift. It speaks of faith as the hand that receives. I do not turn that into a puzzle. I let it sit as comfort. A gift comes into a life that is already tired. The gift does not ask for a ledger. It asks only for an open palm. Imagine a small, wrapped parcel on a bedside table. The wrapping is plain. The ribbon is simple. You do not have to justify opening it. You only need to reach. The reaching is quiet. The hand moves without grand speech. The fingers lift the ribbon. The paper folds back. Inside is warmth. Inside is mercy that does not demand proof. This grace meets the finite parts of us. Bodies grow tired. Minds forget things. Hearts carry dents. These limitations are not hidden from grace. Grace comes into small rooms and into short breaths. It descends into ordinary hours. It holds the part of the night that aches. It rests on small shoulders and on narrow beds. The presence it brings is not a rescue that arrives with trumpets. It is a steady light, the kind that lets someone see the next step without blinding them. I read slowly and let this truth sink. A steady voice is like a hand that steadies a lamp. The words are simple, a gift, a receiving, a rest. Each phrase is a small invitation. Each pause is a place to breathe. You need no fine argument to accept this gift. No checklist, only a willing breath. Grace does not erase the past by force. It does not pretend pain never happened. It moves toward the places that hurt. It places a soft cloth over raw spots. It tends with gentle motions. This tending looks like mercy in action. It might show up as a kind word. It might show up as forgiveness, offered or received. It might show up as the courage to sleep tonight, when waking felt like the only option for a long time. These are not grand signs. They are steady signs. They are enough. There is a quiet power in knowing the gift is not earned. A tired heart often thinks that more effort will clear the weight. Try harder. Fix more. Say more prayers. Make more amends. The list lengthens. The breath shortens. Tonight, I offer a different posture. I name the relief of stopping the counting. Let the ledger close for a moment. Let the hands unclench. Receiving does not mean neglecting repair. It simply allows repair to start from a place of rest rather than from a place of exhaustion. Faith, in this sense, is a simple reaching. It is not a performance. It is like placing a cup under rain and letting drops fill it. The cup does not earn the rain. The cup only opens. Trust is that opening. Trust is a small act, repeated. It does not need loud proof to be true. The presence sensed when a hand reaches across a table in the dark is enough. The act of reaching changes the room. I invite you to picture a small seed in the palm of the hand. The seed sits quietly. Grace is like a gardener who waters that seed. The gardener does not demand a perfect garden first. The gardener brings water and warmth. Little by little, growth happens. The seed does not sprout because it earns sunlight. It sprouts because the sunlight and water come. The growth that follows is steady and often slow. That slowness is kind. In the Bible I read, the idea of a gift appears again and again. It is a steady refrain. Gifts come to those who cannot earn them. They come when trying has run out of breath. This truth is not meant to be an excuse for inaction. It is a balm for exhaustion. It is permission for the shoulders to lower. It is an assurance that effort and grace are not enemies. Effort can still shape a life gently. Grace provides the ground on which that shaping happens without the fear that every step must prove worth. Listen for the quiet places where grace already arrives. An unexpected note from a friend. A morning when the light spills the right way across the floor. A moment when a child laughs and a sharp worry softens. These small things are not vast miracles with fireworks. They are the simple, steady ways grace touches us. The presence that listens at the bedside is often present in such small ways. I do not press for a sudden change. Healing often moves in small increments. Grace is not a sudden erasure. It is a companion that walks beside each slow recovery. It steadies the hand that reaches to mend. It warms the mind that thinks of next steps. It quiets the chest enough to breathe again. Tiny shifts gather into patterns over time. A night of rest makes a small difference. Another night follows. Gradual care forms a new rhythm. There is a gentle freedom in knowing that the gift is universal. It is meant for everyone. No one is beyond reach. No one is excluded because of awkward stumbles or long lists of errors. The offer is broad. The invitation is not selective. When a big temptation to despair appears, recall that the gift is bigger in its reach than the smallness of any fault. That thought is not a dismissal of consequence. It is an assurance that fault does not become the final definition. I offer a small practice now. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the rise and fall. Picture the gift resting just above the heart. Imagine leaning slightly into it and receiving warmth. Let the breath mirror that receiving. Inhale slowly. Hold for a soft beat. Exhale long and easy. Repeat 3 times. Each breath is a small answering to the promise of grace. The body quiets. The mind trusts a bit more. If questions arise, keep them gentle. The bedside hour does not demand full answers. Doubt can coexist with trust. It often does. Faith, in this resting sense, is not the absence of questions. It is a willingness to receive, while questions sit. The hand can receive the gift, while the mind still wonders. The two can be companions. Ispekoshor benediction now. May this gift rest where the night feels heavy. May the unearned kindness lift the tightness inside. May the reach of mercy be wider than the smallness of doubt. May faith be a simple opening rather than a task. May rest come as the gift settles into the ribs. I close the book slowly. The lamp keeps its glow for a few quiet breaths. The room and the heart share the same hush. I will return in the next part with the same slow voice. For now, keep the image of the small parcel, the seed, the gardener, and the open palm. Let the gift be enough tonight. Let sleep come as a gentle acceptance. I sit on the edge of the bed with the Bible open on my knee. The lamp throws a soft circle of light. Pages breathe in the hush. I speak slowly. The room leans in with us. Tonight, I let one line hold the center of the hour. It tells of a calm that goes beyond what the mind can arrange. It promises a kind of quiet that no clever thought can fully explain. I do not speak the line word for word. I let its sense settle instead. The idea lingers like a low hum in the ribs. Faith is the small hand that reaches toward that hush. Faith is not flash. It is steadiness. It is the choice to rest into something larger than an anxious list of ifs and whens. I describe faith in simple strokes. It is the slow closing of the fist to hold a pebble. It is the steady knot that does not snap under small storms. Peace that surpasses understanding shows up like night that arrives without alarm. The world can still be noisy. People can still carry worries. The peace does not pretend the noise away. It stands like a low wall between the heart and the clamor. It steadies the chest without asking for reason. It keeps watch while the mind takes a breath. I read the passage slowly. My voice is even. I let each phrase rest on the air. The room holds the words without pushing them aside. In my reading, the peace is a sentinel. It guards the inner rooms, the places where fear and doubt often gather. The guarding is gentle, not harsh. It is like someone sitting near in the dark, not to peer, but to keep company. Imagine a small harbor. Waves come, as they always do. Storms arrive now and then. The harbor has a breakwater, not to stop every wave, but to give a basin where the boats do not toss themselves to pieces. This basin is the image I bring. Faith is the harbor entrance, opened with a quiet hand. Peace is the water inside that does not leave the boats stranded in panic. I invite a simple practice as I read. Lay a hand on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. Picture a thin cloak folded there. Each inhale smooths the cloak. Each exhale eases its weight. The cloak is not thick armor. It is warm and light. It does not block feeling. It buffers the sharp edges. When the mind insists on answers, I do not argue. I listen. I let the questions rest on the bedside table like small stones. They are not lost. They are not ignored. They are placed where they may cool. The peace I speak of does not require the removal of questions. It requires a steadier posture in the presence of them. Faith acts like a bridge at night. The bridge is narrow and lit. I walk the bridge with a slow step. I do not run. I do not race to certainty. I keep my hand near the rail. The light from the bridge does not dispel all darkness. It gives enough sight to continue. That enough is a mercy for weary minds. There are practical signs of this peace. Muscles unclench. The jaw softens. The shoulders lower an inch. The breath lengthens a little. These are small signals. They matter. They are proof that the heart is permitted rest, even when reasons still unspool. Listen for those small changes. They are gentle proof that something true is moving. I tell of nights when sleep would not come. Thoughts ran like an old tape. In those nights, faith looked like a child folding the hands and trusting the one who watches the doorway. The child does not list the dangers. The child trusts presence. The trust does not remove sorrow. It places sorrow in a room where tears can be met and not alone. The peace that comes through faith has a guarding quality. Guarding is an image of protection, but in this case it feels more like tending. The heart is tended rather than policed. A guard that is a gardener trims only what harms growth. The gardener waters tired roots. The care is practical. It is quiet. It is patient. I keep the language simple, so the ear can rest. Sentences stay short on purpose. They are beams across a calm room. I avoid heavy terms. I avoid long explanations. The aim is to hold, not to teach a difficult lesson. Rest is the lesson here. There is also tenderness in this peace. It wraps like a thin shawl when the night is cool. The shawl does not cover the entire stove of feeling. It simply warms where it rests. In that warmth, shame can shrink. Regret can lighten. Hope can appear like a small ember that needs only a breath to glow. I encourage accurate confession not as a performance, but as a release. Say one small, honest phrase in the mind. It might be a single name. It might be a short admission. The exact words matter less than the act of offering. Offer the phrase into the steady hush. Imagine it received by a presence that does not tally sins as currency, but treats them like things to be mended. Faith also invites a new angle on worry. Worry often tries to be useful. It thinks it keeps danger at bay. Faith asks if worry might be allowed a rest now. What if the mind steps back and lets a better aimed care stand in? The care I name is calm action, not frantic rehearsal. It looks for the next small right thing and then breathes. I read again. Slowly. The words describe a promise that guards both heart and mind. Heart means the feeling center. Mind means the thinking center. The promise covers both, like a roof that shelters both the hearth and the study. Under the roof, both can be warm and awake without burning out. Sometimes the guarding looks like boundaries. It says no to feeding every anxious thought. It chooses not to engage with the loudest inner critic. Watching over the mind can mean turning the attention toward things that are small and true. A cup of tea, a neighbor's quiet kindness, a horizon line that does not demand an explanation. These small things anchor attention without erasing the necessary troubles. I offer a breathing practice that ties faith and peace together. Inhale slowly and imagine drawing in a light that steadies. Hold for a gentle count. Exhale and let a phrase drift away. Worry, fear, pressure. Repeat 3 times. The breath becomes an answering to the promise. Each inhale gathers trust. Each exhale lays down a burden. I also invite memory of a time when peace unexpectedly arrived. Perhaps it came after a hard conversation. Perhaps it arrived after long effort yielded nothing. Recall that moment as if it were a lamp, just relit. Notice how the eyes adjust to the light. Let that memory speak to the present. The same kind of gift can come again, even though there is humility in this peace. It is not brash. It does not pretend to solve all things. It offers a steadiness that can coexist with sorrow and confusion. That coexistence is part of its grace. A heart can be calm and still grieving. That calm does not erase grief. It gives room for the grief to breathe without dominating every hour. I close the reading with a quiet blessing. May this peace hold the places that feel raw. May faith be the small hand that keeps watch. May the mind be gentled until the questions rest like stones at the riverbank. May the heart know a guarding that feels like tenderness. I lower the book and keep my hand on the cover for a moment. The lamp keeps a soft glow. The room listens. Rest if you can. If sleep comes, let it be welcome. If wakefulness remains, let this calm be a companion until the next time my voice returns. For now, keep the bridge lit and the harbor quiet. The watch continues. I open the Bible to a familiar story. The lamp makes the pages glow. The room listens with us. I read slowly and let the images come without hurry. A young person leaves home with a handful of money and a wide hope The world seems bright at first. The traveling is light. The spending is easy. Joy becomes loud. Then the money runs out. Food grows scarce. Bad company shows its teeth. Hunger teaches a hard lesson. Pride grows thin. The person remembers home in the ache of empty bowls. I pause and breathe. The pause makes room. It lets the scene settle like dust that finally finds a surface. Imagine a small hand sat in a lap, empty now. Learning hunger. Picture the road behind. Dust tracing the soles of tired feet. The image is quiet and clear. When the decision comes to return, it is not a parade of perfect words. It is a slow turning back. The step is humble. The heart carries shame and small hope. The road toward home is both long and near. Each step is a small courage. The one who waits at home does not count days in anger. The watcher watches for a shape at the horizon. The waiting is not passive. It is alert and patient, like a lantern that refuses to go out. When the returning figure appears, the response is immediate and tender. A run across a yard, a thrown robe, warm hands that gather a small, tired body close. A simple home prepared again, not in rigid ceremony, but in warm bread and a table that will hold the story safe. I let that scene linger. The embrace is not a scolding. It is a rescue that looks like rejoicing. The restoration begins before any long list of excuses. A ring slides on a returning finger. New sandals touch the floor. A feast starts not to forget, but to celebrate return. The celebration is a tangible welcome. It says that being home matters more than measuring past failure. There is another face in the yard, a sibling who stayed, who worked, who watched. This one carries a different ache. To that person, the sudden feast feels like injustice. The years of steady effort are counted, and compared, resentment tightens the jaw. The heart protests that fairness requires reckoning. This part of the story is gentle but sharp. It teaches that mercy can surprise the orderly mind. Mercy does not always fit Diddy scales. It can feel like a disorder to those who hold accounts. The tension between grace and fairness invites quiet attention. Both parts of the yard hold truth. Neither can erase the other's pain. What do I learn when the story sits on my lap at night first? That returning is brave. Turning back toward home is a good and small act. It does not require brilliant speeches. It asks only for an honest step, a soft, inward movement counts. Make that movement tonight if it is needed. One small step is a beginning. Second, mercy greets before merit. Restoration often arrives as a hand that meets the weak rather than a list of required achievements. This is not wrong. It is merciful. Imagine a blanket wrapped around a shivering body before instructions are given. The warmth does not excuse the cold. It simply helps healing begin. Third, jealousy can hide in steady work. Faithful labor can become a shield for resentment. When kindness comes to the one who fell, a weary heart may whisper that justice is undone. Notice this whisper. Do not be harsh with it. Bring it to light, like placing a small stone on a table. Look at it. Breathe. Ask whether the stone needs to be kept or placed back down for good. Fourth, restoration may need time. The robe and the ring arrive quickly in the story, but trust rebuilds slowly in real life. A returned person may need space to grow in steadiness. A sibling may require honest words and time to soften. Mercy and prudence can coexist. They do not always move at the same speed, but both can be present without contradiction. I read the lines without racing. The quiet in the room invites thought, not argument. The parable is not a rule book. It is a lantern thrown across a dark patch. It shows a path, but it does not dictate every step of the return. Now, a small practice follows the reading. Imagine the returning person at the first gate. Think of one small gesture that could be offered tonight. It need not be grand. A prepared bowl of soup, a short note left by the lamp, a spoken word that is not perfect, but true. I am glad you are here. Let this simple image become real in the mind for a breath. Hold it like a small light. Next, imagine the one who stayed. Offer a kind thought for that tired heart. Say inwardly, you are seen. You have labored. Your pain is real. Let this be a private acceptance rather than a public judgment. This small act is a piece of restoration too. I suggest a gentle breath exercise to anchor the lesson. Place a hand over the heart. Inhale for 3 counts. Hold a quiet beat. Exhale for 4 counts and imagine a small chain loosening between 2 hands. Repeat twice more. Each breath is a tiny undoing of tightly held judgments. The body notes the ease. The face softens a fraction. If there is a need to return before morning, consider a quiet step. It might be an honest message to someone, a brief apology, or a request for help. Keep words short and kind. Do not expect perfection. The act of reaching is the point. The rest follows in smaller, patient increments. When bitterness rises, offer it to a watchful presence. The parable does not deny hurt. It holds the hurt in a larger story. The kindness shown to the returning one is not a negation of the pain of the one who stayed. A faithful heart may need tended as well. Allow tenderness for both places in the yard. I do not push theology as a stern teacher. Instead, I let the story breathe as an invitation to mercy. The narrative rests like a lamp on the table. It lights both the path back and the faces that watch. Both light and watchers matter. Think also of self-compassion this night. If the returning figure rings a bell in the chest, let that bell toll softly for forgiveness. Do not set impossible standards to earn welcome. A small offering and an honest step often suffice to begin healing. Place a hand on the knee and say nothing. The absence of words can be a prayer. For those who relate to the sibling who stayed, know that your steadiness is a virtue. It is also human to feel wounded when mercy seems to leap over merit. Let that feeling be acknowledged without allowing it to become a prison. Consider a gentle action that honors your faithfulness. A short note to yourself of thankfulness. A ritual of release, like placing a small stone in a bowl and covering it with cloth. These small acts give body to internal truths. I close the Bible with a slow movement. The lamp keeps its glow. The pages fall shut like a hand resting on a chest. The parable remains a warmth on the bedside table. Lessons settle like soft dust on familiar furniture. Before sleep, I speak a short benediction from the place of the heart. May the one who turns home find welcome. May the one who stays find fairness and tenderness. May mercy and prudence walk together. May rest come for both kinds of weariness. May the night hold us gently until morning. I place the book down and keep my hand over it for a tiny moment. The room breathes with us. If sleep comes now, let it be welcome. If wakefulness remains, let the quiet lesson of the yard sit like a small light in the chest. I will return in the next part with the same slow voice. For now, let the lamp be soft and the road home feel nearer. I settle the book on my knee again. The lamp keeps its small pool of light. The night listens. The parable I just read holds a quiet power. It speaks of returning, of welcome, of a mercy that meets failure without surprise. I paint the picture again in simple strokes. A person leaves home and finds the world rougher than the dream. Hunger teaches humility. The decision to turn back begins as a whisper inside a tired heart. Home is not a reward. It is a place where care waits. The one who watches does not measure time into a punishment. The heart that returns is met with a steady embrace. This story tells of forgiveness that is immediate. The welcome comes before a long speech. The robe rests on shoulders without a list of proofs. The feast begins even while the story of failure is still damp with shame. The welcome feels like a hand reaching under a cold chin and lifting it toward warmth. It is not sudden erasure of the past. It is a first act of mending. There is another life in the yard. The one who stayed has worked. Resentment can live in that steady faithfulness. The parable does not dismiss that pain. It shows how mercy can look like surprise to those who keep accounts. Both places in the yard need tenderness. Both voices in the heart deserve to be heard. I speak softly about returning. The act of coming back is often small. It looks like one humble step. It begins with admitting a need. It does not require eloquence or a long confession. A single honest breath is enough to set the road in motion. Courage is sometimes this simple. Make that small move tonight if it calls. Forgiveness in the story is not a checklist. It is an offering. It is a handing over of judgment into hands that will tend. It frees rather than simply excuses. When forgiveness is given, the one who forgives gains ease too. The tightness that comes from holding a grievance loosens by degrees. The chest relaxes. Sleep finds a gentler doorway. I remind gently that forgiveness is not always the same as reconciliation. A kind word can be offered even when distance must remain. Boundaries can be both tender and firm. Saying yes to mercy does not mean saying yes to harm. Restoration sometimes needs careful steps and time to rebuild trust. Mercy begins the process. Prudence keeps the pace steady. This has been a long night for many hearts. Self-forgiveness often sits heavy. Shame has a quiet way of making a person small. To forgive oneself is not boastful. It is an honest act of care. It begins with naming the wrong, without amplifying it. Place the memory in the mind like a pebble on a shelf. It need not be the entire self. I offer an image that rests well on the ears. Imagine a threshold light, low and sure. Step to the threshold and set the heavy coat down. The coat is the list of failures. Let hands open. The weight is not required to prove repentance. The hand that reaches from inside will take the coat and mend it, not fling it away. That mending is mercy at work. If bitterness watches like the sibling who stayed, notice the feeling. It is valid. To hold hard labor and see sudden celebration can sting. Allow that sting to be honest without letting it dictate the whole heart. A small remedy may help a private act that honors steadfastness. A written note to self. A small ritual that names faithful work. These acts are not prideful. They are restorative. The parable also shows the surprising joy of the one who waits. There is a readiness to celebrate restoration. That joy announces a truth welcome matters more than correction. The returning one finds acceptance before a perfect explanation. This does not negate consequence. It starts repair from a warmer place. I invite a small practice now. Take a breath in. Hold it for a quiet beat. Let it go slowly. Picture a shallow bowl on a table beside the bed. Place in your mind one single regret or unkept promise. See it as a smooth stone. Lay the stone into the bowl. Watch the water ripple, and then still. The stone does not disappear, but its edges change in the water. The act of placing it there is a beginning. If words help, choose one gentle phrase in the mind. It might be the single word home. It might be the short thought I am returning. Do not force elaborate speech. Simply items fit best into quiet hours. The presence that watches hears the tone of the heart more than the architecture of speech. There can be grief beside the relief. If tears come, let them be. They are part of the body making room. If the eyes stay dry, that is fine too. Response varies, and both are equal in the hush. The measure of a night is not how loud the cleansing is. It is the change in the breathing, the slackening of the jaw, the small unclenching of the hands. Forgiving another is a practice too. Sometimes it begins with curiosity about the other person's pain. Ask compassion of the heart. This does not mean excusing harmful acts. It means refusing to let anger harden into a permanent armor. Let gentleness shape boundaries. Let mercy keep the door partly open. When it is wise to do so. I read the parable not to impose a moral checklist. I read it as a lamp that casts gentle light on human ways of falling and being received. God's welcome, as the story suggests, is steady. It meets failure with hands that mend, not with a ledger. The welcome is not an erasure of consequence. It is the start of healing. If reconciliation is a goal, think in small steps. A short note, a guied apology, a specific act to repair what can be repaired. Keep words calm and plain. Trust that steady endeavors add up. The parable's feast is a symbolic first embrace. The long work of trust follows in quieter rhythms. For those who carry long guilt, consider nightly small offerings. Each evening, place one small regret in the bowl and let the breath carry the motion. Owatim. This simple habit rewrites the body's memory. The chest learns to expect gentleness. The sleep that follows is unexpectedly deeper. There is mercy for the one who stayed as well. Hard work deserves being seen. Quiet loyalty can be honored with words and small acts that acknowledge faithfulness. The parable does not forget this need. It invites a fuller community, where everyone has room to be both flawed and beloved. I keep my voice low because the ears rest better this way. The night is not a court. It is a bedside where hands can touch without proving worth. The scripture I read acts like that bedside lamp. It throws a steady glow on a small table. It warms without burning. I close this section with a short sending. May the small act of returning begin tonight. May the welcome you need find you before the long list of explanations. May mercy soften the hard edges inside. May space be given to those who have been faithful. May sleep come as a gentle witness to the new settling in the chest. The Bible rests in my lap. The lamp keeps its quiet light. Hold the image of the threshold and the bowl. Let one small regret be placed down. Breathe, and let the night take it into its slow work. When my voice returns, we will keep moving gently forward. For now, let the room be calm and the road toward home feel a little nearer. I close the Bible gently and look up at you. The night is quiet. My voice stays soft. I ask for one slow breath together. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. The rhythm steadies the chest. Tonight I bring a single theme. Restoring relations. Family. Friends. People who share a history with you. The ones whose faces live in the corners of memory. The ones whose names sometimes tangle the heart. I remember a line from the scriptures. It asks us to bear with one another and to forgive. It points to a forgiveness that follows the pattern of how the Lord forgives. I do not unpack the theology. I let the idea sit like a small lantern. Forgiveness can be an opening for repair. It can be the first gentle step toward mending what has frayed. Begin by noticing a small hurt, not everything at once. One single thread that pulls when you reach across a table. A thought that visits when a familiar name comes up. Let it be specific and small. Describe it in one short sentence in your mind. Name it. Do not inflate it. Do not hide it under a general cloud of blame. Hold the name without judgment. Notice where it sits in the body. Maybe a tightness behind the ribs. Maybe a hollow just beneath the collarbone. Breathe into that place. Each inhale brings a little more space. Each exhale eases the weight by a breath. I suggest an image for forgiving. Imagine two loose threads that once braided easily, now pull apart. Forgiveness is the tender act of rethreading. It does not erase the wear. It binds broken strands with a softer cord. The mending might not be perfect. It might show the repair with a different color. That difference can be beautiful, not a defect. Forgiveness begins inside. It is first an inner choice. You choose to soften the grip on the memory that keeps pricking the skin. This choice does not demand forgetting. It simply frees energy for new steps. When forgiveness reaches the heart, the body often notices. Muscles relax. Sleep becomes possible. The mind stops circling the same argument. If you are thinking of someone close, picture a small table between you. On the table place one short truth about the hurt. Place beside it one small fact about the person you are thinking of. perhaps a kindness they once showed, perhaps a vulnerability you know they carry. Let the two items sit together. Seeing both can change how the story lives in memory. Restoration sometimes requires words. When words are needed, keep them plain. Say fewer things with more honesty. A short, calm apology is stronger than an elaborate speech. A simple explanation of how you feel can invite listening if a safe conversation is not possible now. A small note or a steady action may be enough to start the arc of repair. At times, restoration asks for patient repair. Mending is slow. Trust rebuilds in small increments. Think of tiny, consistent acts rather than a single sweeping gesture. A steady habit of kindness does more than one grand event. The rhythm of reliability heals where dramatic apologies sometimes fail. Boundaries belong in restoration. Forgiving is not always the same as opening every door. Keep a tender firmness. Say yes to mercy, and also say yes to protection of the heart. The two can walk together. Boundaries are not cold walls. They are guides that preserve dignity while allowing space for future growth. There are evenings when restoring means listening more than speaking. Sit in the other person's story for a few minutes without the need to rebuke. Listening is an offering. It is a small floor on which new trust can land. If the heart is ready, speak. If not, practice the small art of being present without fixing. Sometimes restoration requires asking for help. Confiding in a wise friend or a quiet counselor can steady the hands that try to mend alone. Bring a small part of the story to someone who listens well. A second set of ears can help keep the mending thread taut without snapping. I remind gently that forgiveness is not a reward for forgetting. It is a choice to not let a wound define the whole person. The act of forgiving does not mean erasing consequences. It often means choosing a posture that allows healing to begin. Consequences and mercy can coexist. They may shape a safer future. There are nights when the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Self-restoration matters. Treat your own errors as you would a friend's. Ask for the same compassion you might offer to someone else who is tired and sorry. Practice the same slow breathing. Place the past gently on a shelf that will not be used to weigh down the future. If reconciliation is the goal, be practical. Name one small, concrete next step tonight. It could be a letter left unsigned for now. It could be a brief phone call with no need to settle everything. It could be preparing a meal without the pressure of a long conversation. Small acts are less threatening and often more effective. When the mind moves to anger, let the feeling have its space without letting it become the only voice. Shift attention to the concrete. What is repairable? What can be mended tonight? The small answers help the heart step away from replaying the full argument. Forgiveness also frees the forgiver. The act loosens what clings like ivy to an old wall. That freedom is not fix-all, but it is a relief. The body learns to carry less. Sleep comes with fewer interruptions. The mind finds slighter, better rest. I read now a short line from the scripture that stays with me. It asks us to forgive as we have been forgiven. I let that idea rest quietly. To forgive is to reflect a care that once met us. It is not a test. It is a mirror that shows a gentler way forward. Try a breathing practice that ties this together. Inhale slowly and picture the person in a soft light. Hold for a small beat. Exhale and imagine releasing one tight feeling about them. Repeat 3 times. Each cycle is a tiny offering. Each offering trains the body and the heart toward a lighter stance. If a name rises and calling feels dangerous, choose a different step. Send a small, kind message that holds no demand, or write a letter and keep it as a private act of change. The intention matters more than the public result. Healing can begin quietly. There are times when repair asks for a witness. Bring the matter to prayer or a short moment of meditation. Ask for courage to be honest. Ask for softness where the heart feels stone. These brief petitions do not solve everything. They do steady the hands and the mind enough to take the next small step. Remember that people carry hidden pain. When a harsh action is seen, it often masks quiet wounds. Compassion does not excuse harm. It helps explain it. That explanation can make a path to repair more possible. Try to see both the action and the ache behind it. Restoring relations can create new beauty. The mending might show seams. Those seams can remind you of the work that was done. They can become a part of the story that holds more than the original pain. The chest learns an expanded capacity for tenderness. I end with a brief blessing. May your heart find the courage to take one small step toward repair. May mercy soften the places that hurt. May wisdom guide the setting of gentle boundaries. May forgiveness lighten the load enough to let sleep come. May restoring begin in tiny, faithful acts. One last breath together. Inhale, hold, exhale. The room keeps its hush. The Bible rests open if you need it. I will return and read again when the night leans toward morning. For now, let the small work of healing begin here. One slow breath at a time. I sit with the Bible open and the lamp low. The room inhales the quiet. My voice comes slowly. I am here to read and to guide. The night leans in. Tonight the focus is small. It is a simple truth about words. Gentle words have power. They change the tone of a room. They soften angles that have grown sharp. Tonight I hold that truth like a lantern between us. I begin with a short breath together. Inhale for 3 counts. Hold a gentle beat. Exhale for 4 counts. The breath moves the body toward ease. The shoulders lower. The jaw unclenches. That ease makes the voice kinder. I read a line from Scripture about a soft answer and an angry spirit. I do not say the exact words out loud. I let their sense sit instead. The idea rests in the air like a low lamp. A soft reply can cool a flare. The thought is simple. The tone of a sentence matters more than clever phrasing. A soft voice can be a small mercy. Think of a single strained relationship you carry. Do not call it aloud. Hold it quietly in the mind. Picture a table between you and the other person. On that table, place one small object that represents the hurt. A pebble, a folded note. Do not try to fix the whole story now. Look only at the object for a breath. Now imagine a feather beside the pebble. The feather does not deny the pebble's weight. It eases the set of things on the table. The feather is a kind word. The feather is the decision to speak softly when hardness rises. A single soft sentence can shift the arrangement on the table more than 1,000 sharp ones. I read again, slowly, lines that remind me that words can mend or break. The voice that listens is as important as the voice that speaks. I let that thought sink without argument. The lamp keeps its circle of light. The sounds from outside fade into a softer background. When a relationship feels raw, timing matters. A gentle word said at the wrong moment can still be sharp. Choose a time of low heat. Wait for a calm breath. Softness is more likely to land when the body is not alarmed. If the other person cannot be present without pressure, a note or a small message often opens a quieter door than an immediate confrontation. I suggest a short practice before any attempt to speak. Place a hand on the heart. Notice the feeling there. Name it in one short phrase: an ache, a fear, a tiredness. Breathe into that place. The act of naming does not solve the problem. It makes the speaker less likely to strike in panic. A calmer heart chooses softer words. Words do not have to be elaborate to be graceful. Plain sentences are often most healing. A short phrase of truth accompanied by gentleness can be a bridge. Say less, mean more. Keep sentences tidy and honest. A steady tone will carry the truth without stabbing. You do not have to craft the perfect explanation. A clear, kind admission can start the mending. Listening is part of speaking well. When the other person speaks, listen as if your breath depends on it. Do not rehearse the reply. Let the words fall. Let silence follow them. When a voice is allowed to finish, it loses some of its urgency. Respectful listening itself is a gentle word in action. I read a passage that points to mercy in speech. The passage pictures care that leans in rather than lashes out. Mercy in words looks like calm attention. It looks like choosing phrases that name hurt without flinging blame. This kind of speech invites repair. It keeps doors from slamming. If an apology is due, make it short and clear. A simple sorry that names the wrong is stronger than long justifications. Do not string the apology into explanations that sound like excuses. A small, true phrase can unclench a tight place in both bodies. Let actions follow the words. Small, steady acts of repair matter more than grand speeches. There will be times when gentle words cannot be offered safely. Boundaries then are also a form of grace. Saying no to harm is not unkind. It protects the space where gentle speech might later live. A firm, calm boundary keeps the heart from being worn thin. Do both when needed. Protect the self and leave the door open, as is wise. Practice helps the tongue to be gentle. Before a hard conversation, practice a short line out loud in the quiet. Hear how the words sit in the air. If they sound sharp, soften them. Pay attention to even one syllable of tone. The body notices. A practice line is not performance. It is a small rehearsal that spares rawness from spilling. I offer an image that rests well. Imagine a small stone path between two houses. Each step is a sentence. Choose each step so it is sure and even. A hurried step might trip. A steady step keeps the journey safe. Gentle words make for steadier steps. They tend the path where mending can happen. When anger flares in response, do not return with equal force. Step back. Name the flare within you before it blazes into words. A soft answer cools an angry moment. It does not mean weakness. It is a brave choice to hold firmness inside a gentle voice. Courage in speech often looks like modesty, not spectacle. I read along a line that speaks of listening and answering with calm. Again, I do not recite the verse. I let its rhythm shape the room. The breath follows the cadence. The mind relaxes under the slow tempo. The heart becomes a little more willing to try new words. Forgiveness and restoration may follow gentle talk. They do not always follow immediately. Gentle words plant seeds. They do not force a harvest overnight. The seed needs time and small care. Be patient. Let the soil of relationship warm and soften. Repeat small kindnesses. Let new speech patterns become habit rather than singular events. I guide a brief breathing exercise to anchor this habit. Inhale and imagine drawing in a slow, soft light. Hold for one small beat. Exhale and imagine the light resting just inside the throat. Repeat 2 more times. Picture each breath painting the inside of the mouth with calm. This inner image makes it easier to speak from a gentle place. A small note may be safer than a long talk. If you cannot safely meet, write one brief sentence that opens rather than demands. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. A short, kind line received in the quiet of a room can be a balm that words from a rattled moment cannot be. Remember that tone often matters more than content. A soft voice can carry hard truth. A loud voice can turn tender truth into harm. Practice lowering volume as a discipline. Speak as if you were reading a calm line to a child at bedtime. That tone tends to ease defensive spikes on the other side. I pause and let the silence hold the room. The lamp keeps its small glow. The Bible rests open. The night hears the unspoken things. In the hush, imagine placing all the sharpness from a long day into a small box. Set the box aside for now. Let the hands be free for gentler speech tomorrow. I close with a short, deliberate benediction. May words come softly. May they mend rather than break. May speech carry mercy and clarity together. May the tongue be guided by a calm heart. May the next small attempt at repair be grounded in patience. Before I go on, take one last deep breath with me. Inhale slowly. Hold a quiet beat. Exhale and let the shoulders fall. If sleep comes, receive it as part of this gentle practice. If wakefulness stays, keep the image of the feather on the table. Let it remind you that even small softness can begin big mending. I lower the Bible and let the lamp keep its glow. My voice is still. The night rests. I will return to read again when the hour leans closer to morning. For now, hold the quiet words like a small light against the dark. Let them guide the speech of tomorrow. I sit with the Bible closed for a moment and look up at you. The lamp keeps its soft glow. The room listens. Tonight, I bring a story about 2 friends. It is a small tale. It moves slowly. It carries the gentle weight of long care. I ask for one quiet breath before I begin. Inhale, hold, exhale. The breath sets the pace. The voice follows it. Once, two people walked the same streets. They shared a rope swing and a secret place behind an old fence. They traded small treasures, a marble, a folded scrap of paper. Laughter came easily. Trust threaded each day like a simple stitch. Time changed the pattern. Jobs required long hours. A sharp disagreement arrived over something that mattered more to one than the other. Pride hardened into a small wall. Each retreated to one side of the yard. The shared places grew weeds. The rope swing sagged. I do not tell you the argument. The details do not soothe. Instead, I describe the slow drift. They stopped meeting for coffee. Invitations came and went unspoken. Letters remained unsent. A small coldness grew into a habit of silence. I notice the shape of that silence in the body. The jaw tightens. The shoulders draw inward slightly. Breathe into those places now. Let the breath move through the tightness like warm air through clothing. Mons passe. One friend watches the other from a safe distance. Memory plays small clips of better days. Regret arrives not as a flood, but as a steady rain. The watcher remembers a kindness. The watcher remembers being forgiven once on a sill night. That memory becomes a hinge. The first act of grace in the tale is small. It is not a speech. It is not a public performance. It is a bowl of soup left on a doorstep. The friend who sends it does not wait for permission. A hand moves. A pot is carried. The lid is set gently on the porch. The action is quiet. It asks nothing in return. The bowl becomes a sign. It says, I remember. I care. I am near. Even if in a modest way. The other friend finds the bowl. The heart recognizes the shape of reconciliation before the mind has all the words. The bowl warms and softens something that had been brittle. I pause here because the small acts matter more than grand proclamations. If you think of someone tonight, imagine a modest act you might do. A short note, a song shared, a small errand done for them. These acts do not erase the past. They lessen its sharpness. A next step in the story is humility. One friend admits quietly to a fault, not in a loud confession, but in a simple reaching through a small step. The reaching does not demand instant restoration. It asks for the chance to come near again. The other friend, watching, feels the tug of history and the tug of new mercy. I remind gently that forgiveness is not a single, sweeping moment in most lives. In this tale, it is an arc of small movements. A returned phone call, a patient handshake at a doorway, a shared cup of tea where long silences are allowed, and even welcome. Each small yes rebuilds a thread. There is also reluctance in the yard. The one who stayed wonders whether the old breach will repeat. The one who returns worries about being rejected again. Both carry caution. In the telling, restoration is careful. It honors the need to protect what is fragile, while allowing tenderness to begin its slow work. God's everlasting love frames the scene. I do not preach about it. I let it appear as a steady presence at the edge, like a hearth in another room whose warmth can be felt without seeing the flame. That love keeps watch. It does not scold the weary. It tends the raw places with a hand that knows how to heal small wounds without startling the skin. Imagine now a small lantern on the table between the two friends. The lantern is the image of that care. It is not a spotlight. It is a steady glow that asks for nothing grand in return. Let your mind rest on the lantern for a breath. Feel the light. Make the edges less harsh. The friends practice a different way of speaking. Harsh sentences are left in the past. They learn to use soft words, not false sweetness, not denial, plain truth in a calm tone. The tongue learns the rhythm of patience. Conversation becomes a bridge. One steady plank at a time. In the tale, one small scene matters to me. A hand reaches out to mend a torn jacket. The mending is slow and awkward. The needle slips. The thread knots. They laugh at the clumsiness. That laughter cracks the last thin shell around the heart. Repair sometimes looks like clumsy kindness. That clumsiness is real grace. I invite you to imagine a worn thing between you and someone you love. It might be a phrase you wish you had not said. It might be a promise not kept. Picture taking it to a table with another person and mending it together. One careful stitch. The aim is not to hide the wear. The aim is to bind it with patience, so it can be used again. Acts of grace in the story continue with listening. One friend offers space for the other's story, even for the parts that ache. The listening is patient and steady. It does not interrupt. It does not turn into a verdict. The other speaks slowly. The words are not perfect. Neither is the listener. But the meeting itself carries change. Mercy arrives in small, repeated ways. A favor returned. A birthday remembered. A quiet présence during a sickness night. Over months, the old trust begins to feel possible. Old jokes resurface. The shared secret place is revisited, not as a shrine, but as a familiarum. I emphasize the steadiness of God's love again. It is like the ground beneath the yard. It supports both the one who leaves and the one who stays. It does not take away consequence. It provides the soil for growth. This love is a constant backdrop that does not collapse when the story grows messy. It simply holds. Sometimes reconciliation in the tale is not complete. Sometimes friends find they cannot walk back to the old closeness. The story keeps mercy for that too. A kinder distance can still be a blessing. Friendship may change shape. The new form can be honest and soft. The heart learns to treasure what is possible rather than mourning what is not. I ask you now to breathe with an imagined step. Inhale. Picture a small act of grace you could offer. Exhale, and imagine placing that act gently in the path of someone you think of. The step does not need to fix everything. It is the beginning of something kinder. The tale closes with a simple image. Two friends sit on a porch. As evening falls, they do not rush to fill the quiet. Their feet touch the same board for the first time in a long while. The hush between them is comfortable rather than tense. A cat curls at their feet. The lamp below their window glows steady. The world is ordinary, and yet it holds a quiet miracle. I give a brief benediction to keep. May the small acts of grace find you willing. May forgiveness come as a gentle series of steps, rather than a grand demand. May God's steadfast love be the steady light at the edge of your own quiet yard. May you have courage to reach and wisdom to protect what must remain safe. I close the Bible softly. The lamp keeps its glow for a few slow breaths. Rest if you can. If sleep comes, let it be a friendly guest. If wakefulness remains, let the story sit like a warm cup beside the bed. I will return in the next part with the same slow voice. For now, let the lantern of love burn steady and quiet. I settle the Bible on my knee and let the room gather around the pages. The lamp gives a soft pool of light. The air is calm. I breathe slowly and ask you to breathe with me. Inhale, hold, exhale. The rhythm grounds us. Tonight I bring a single promise to the bedside. It sits like a warm stone in the palm of the hand. The promise says that no force, no fear, and no failing can finally pry you from the place of God's love. I do not make it complicated. I let the meaning unfold in small images and in quiet breaths. I read a line that has steadied many hearts. The passage lists the hard things we meet. It names life and death, high days and dark nights, powers that seem to press in, and depths that feel bottomless. The message answers each item calmly. Love holds. Love stays. Nothing breaks the circle. The language is bold and gentle at once. This is not abstract. It meets the small, ordinary aches of a late hour. Think of a worry that visits at night. The worry might be about work. It might be about a conversation that did not go well. It might be an old grief that wakes up with the moon. Bring that one worry into the light of the bedside lamp. Set it on the table in the mind like a small stone. See it plainly. Now imagine a soft arm of light reaching around the stone. The light does not take the stone away. It simply cradles it. The weight does not vanish instantly. But the way you carry it changes. The shoulders drop a little. The breath finds room. This is what the passage promises: presence that does not insist on removing every hurt, but arrives to bear it alongside you. I speak slowly. I do not pile words. Each sentence is a careful step. I encourage a small practice as I read. Place a hand over your chest. Feel the rise and fall beneath your fingers. Name one short phrase in the mind. You are held. Say it once with the inhale. Let the exhale answer, you are not alone. Repeat 3 times. The breath becomes a quiet echo to the phrase. When I say that nothing can separate us from God's love, I mean the whole sweep of life. The love reaches into tired days and into sleepless nights. It reaches into real mistakes and into the shame that often lingers afterward. It reaches into seasons that feel like loss. It does not punish the honest heart for naming pain. It meets it. If doubt comes, notice it without alarm. Doubt is a companion on many evenings. It does not have to be chased away with force. Let it be held alongside the promise. Picture both of them sitting on a bench under the lamp. The promise is steady. Doubt can talk. The promise listens. Over time, the steady thing often swallows some of the sharpness of the doubt. Not by argument, but by being present. I tell a small story to help the thought settle. Once, A person carried a long list of small failures, like pebbles in an apron. Each pebble felt important enough to define the day. The burden grew heavy. One night, someone else sat near and did not lecture. They put a gentle cloth beneath the apron and said nothing more than "I am here." The pebbles did not vanish. Their meaning shifted. The burden lost its edge simply because company changed how it was carried. The love I read about works like that company. You may be thinking that some things feel too large. A lost job, a fractured relationship, a certain illness. These things are large. The passage reaches them too. It names depth and height images for extremes of circumstance. It insists that even the greatest fear is not the final word. The final word is held in love, stubborn and tender. I guide the breath again. Inhale slowly and imagine drawing in a thin thread of light. Hold that thread gently at the top of the chest. Exhale and picture the thread settling around the worry like a small shawl. Repeat twice more. Each breath is a small act of receiving the promise, not a demand to understand it. There is mercy in this resting. Mercy does not deny consequence or the need to change certain ways. It opens a space where change can begin without the body collapsing from shame. Think of mercy as a steady hand that helps unlace a tight shoe rather than a scolding voice that says you must run harder. The hand makes the foot feel human and repairable. I do not push theology like a stern tutor. This hour is for rest. The words I read are an invitation to let the truth sink into the body more than into the list of thoughts. Let your muscles respond before your mind has finished parsing the idea. Let the jaw unclench. Let the shoulders fall. Let sleep be a welcome guest, not a test you must pass. Sometimes the easiest way to receive the promise is small and concrete. Choose a single small thing to notice tonight that you can name as touched by love. It might be the warm cup you held earlier. It might be a message from someone who remembered you. It might be the simple fact of breath. Place that small thing beside your stone of worry. As if on the same bedside table, let the two items balance one another. Gratitude is not a dismissal of pain. It is a light that helps the eyes see better in dim hours. If tears come, accept them. They are not a failure. They are a language your body uses when words feel clumsy. If sleep comes, do not worry about being too eager. Sleep is a friend. It is sometimes the first way the promise sinks into the bones. If wakefulness remains, let this quiet truth be a companion. The night can hold both rest and watching. I speak about permanence in a gentle way. The word permanent can scare us. I prefer to say lasting. God's love lasts in the long way. It is not distracted by temporary noise. It outlasts a single failure and outweights a season of doubt. It is present in the small acts of care and in the silent keeping of hours. Take comfort in persistence rather than in sudden removal of pain. To bring this closer, imagine a shallow pool at your feet. Into the pool, drop one pebble, the worry. Watch the rings spread, and then soften. The water does not erase the pebble. It simply shows how the pebble sits in a wider basin. The basin holds more than the pebble. The promise is the basin. It is patient and wide. I invite a short whispered sentence now. In the mind, say, I am held by love. Let the words come slowly. Do not make a spectacle of them. Let them fall like a small cloth over the chest. Breathe and let the whisper seal the moment. If the thought of separation comes, if you have feared being too far gone, tend that fear as one tends a wounded bird. Do not frighten it more. Offer it a safe place and the steady truth of the passage. Love reaching outward is not shocked by distance. It leans in. It draws without coercion. Its power is in staying. There is a practical edge here too. When the heart is quieted by the promise, action often follows more kindly. Rested people speak more gently. Rested minds see next steps more clearly. If something in your life needs a practical change, let that work begin from this quieter place. It will be steadier and more merciful to yourself and to others. I finish this reading with a blessing that is simple and direct. May this night root the promise into your ribs. May the truth of being held change how you breathe. May the small acts of mercy meet you in the dark hours. May nothing break the circle of love that surrounds you. I place my hand lightly on the Bible and hold a moment of silence. The silence keeps the words like a soft garment. If sleep comes, receive it. If wakefulness stays, let this quiet be your companion. When my voice returns in the next part, we will move slowly onward. For now, rest in the steady truth that you are held and never alone. I sit with the Bible open and the lamp low. The page breathes in the hush. My voice stays small. I ask for one slow inhale together. Hold it for a quiet beat. Exhale and let the shoulders drop. Tonight, I turn our attention to a simple promise about rest. Nod a quick fix. Not a clever trick. A steady refuge for a weary heart. I do not speak in lectures. I offer a gentle reflection and a short prayer to walk with it. First, notice what is heavy tonight. Think of one thing that presses in. When the lights dim, name it in a short phrase in your mind. Keep it narrow. A single worry, a small failure, a tiredness that does not lift. Hold that thing like a small package in the hands of the imagination. Feel its weight without trying to change it yet. Now imagine a quiet room beside you. The room is warm and still. A chair waits by a low table. The package can be set there. Place it gently on the table. The table is steady and kind. It does not judge. It holds. The act of setting the package down is not a denial. It is a very small surrender of effort for a moment. Breathe into that image. Inhale for 3 counts. Pause. Exhale slowly. As you breathe, picture a pair of calm hands coming from the light side of the room. The hands do not take the package roughly. They cradle it. They do not demand explanation. They accept the weight and make room. Imagine those hands easing a soft blanket over the package, not to hide it, but to tend it. The blanket sits warmly. The package is not erased. It is cared for. The hands remain near. This is not a sudden removal of all feeling. It is an offered help that shares the load so the chest can breathe again. Listen. In the hush, a small invitation is present. It asks for simple things. Bring the honest sigh. Speak the single short sentence that comes most naturally. It may be a plea. It may be a small thank you. It may be a one-word naming of need. Say it in the mind, or whisper it into the dark if that feels safe. Let the words be plain. If naming is hard, use your breath as speech. Inhale and think I am tired. Exhale and let the thought rest. Repeat once. The breath becomes a kind of quiet prayer. No clever phrases. No need for long explanations. A short, honest breath is enough to begin. Now a short prayer will follow. I read slowly and leave space between each line. Do not feel compelled to speak aloud. Let the words sink into the silence. If you prefer to answer in your own words, do so. Keep them small and true. Quiet prayer. Thankfulness for company in the dark. A request for gentleness in the places that ache. Are asking for help to carry what is heavy tonight. After each brief line, I pause. The pause is part of the prayer. In that silence, allow the heart a moment to answer. The answer might be a small yes. It may be a single tear. It might be a steadying of the breath. If a name rises of a person, of a loss, of a fear, offer that name into the quiet. Speak it softly in the mind and place it on the table beside the package. The presence that watches needs no eloquent speech. It knows the language of the body as well as words. I guide a short moment of listening now. Sit in the hush and feel the chest. Notice whether a shift occurs. It may be slight. A jaw may ease. The shoulders may lower an inch. These small changes matter. They are signs that the burden is shared. Even a little, when anxious thoughts return, do not chase them furiously. Notice them like birds at the window. They come, they perch, and then they leave. Bring the attention back to the breath. Inhale slowly. Exhale fully. Each return is a gentle victory. Sometimes rest comes as a slow settling. Other times it arrives as sleep. Both are welcome. If sleep comes, let it be. If wakefulness remains, keep the quiet close like a small lamp beside you. The lamp will not force answers. It will simply hold a soft space. A short act may follow this prayer. If it feels right, place a hand over the place that aches. Feel the warmth. Let the pulse under the palm be a small rhythm of care. Imagine that rhythm syncing with a steady, present hand that has room for the weight you carry. Hold the touch for 3 breaths. Now I offer a brief blessing in a few simple lines. Hear them slowly and let them rest. May the night cradle the tired places. May a steady presence share the load. May gentleness meet you where you are. May rest come softly. And may hope be near. After the blessing, I leave a longer silence. 10 quiet breaths, if you can keep count. Let the hush gather like soft cloth around the thought of your package on the table. The hands that tended it remain near. You do not have to do anything else for now. If a next step seems right, make it small. A short note to someone in daylight. A restful habit to repeat tomorrow. One tiny practical repair. There is no pressure to solve everything. in an hour meant for rest. Rest often makes the right next steps clearer. Before the part ends, a few gentle reminders. Mercy meets honest hearts, not perfect ones. Asking for help is brave. Faith is not a loud proof. It is a quiet leaning. The presence that shares burdens does not scorn the weak. It helps steady them and offers room to breathe. I close this time with one last deep breath together. Inhale. Hold the comfort of a steady hand in the mind. Exhale and let go of trying to fix the night. If sleep comes, accept it as a gift. If wakefulness remains, let the silence be company until the next quiet hour. I set the Bible down lightly. The lamp keeps its glow a moment longer. The package sits on the table in our image, tended and not forgotten. The hands remain near. The promise of shared burden stays as well. When my voice returns, we will move slowly onward. For now, rest, breathe, and receive this quiet presence. The night keeps watch with you. I sit very still with the Bible on my lap. The lamp throws a soft circle of light across the pages. I keep my voice low and steady. The night leans in. I read a short line that says, "Rest comes when we trust a faithful presence." I do not recite it word for word. I let its meaning settle. The promise is simple. Sleep arrives, not because every question is answered. Sleep comes because someone watches while we lie down. My words move slowly. Each sentence is a small step toward quiet. I invite one breath with me. Inhale gently for 4 counts. Hold a quiet beat. Exhale long for 6 counts. The longer exhale helps muscles soften. I repeat the pattern twice. The breath becomes a gentle tide. Now I guide a small image. Picture a low roof over your head. The roof holds beams that are sure. It does not remove the wind outside. It simply keeps the rain from finding you. Trust is like those beams. It does not erase trouble. It keeps the night from biting into the sleeping place. Bring to mind one small worry. A single thing you think of when the light goes out. Place that worry on the edge of a bedside table in the mind. Do not make it larger. Do not push it away suddenly. Set it down like a small object that can be seen clearly. As I read, imagine a quiet watcher stepping into the room. The watcher is not loud. The watcher does not scold. The watcher settles into a chair and simply keeps time with your breath. That presence makes the room safer. That safety is the ground on which sleep can come. I speak of the body. Now, notice the back against the mattress. Feel the hands at rest. Let the feet relax. If there is tension in the neck, make a tiny nod, as if bowing to the hum of the night. Stop moving. Stay with the stillness that follows. The body answers to small, careful requests. Faith, in this quiet hour, looks like a willingness to lie down under the steady watch. It is not a show of strength. It is a small act of placing trust where words are not necessary. The action is simple. Lay down. Close the eyes if that brings ease. Let the muscles choose rest. I offer a short practice to anchor the thought. Place a hand over the heart. Feel its slow beat. Imagine each beat like a soft bell in a distant hall. The bell rings once for safety. It rings again for presence. Let the rhythm tell the mind that someone steady keeps the time. Sometimes sleep flees because the mind rehearses next day's list. If that happens, write one small notepad in the mind. Put the top task on the list. Close the mental notebook. Promise to open it with daylight. This small ceremony tells the brain that tomorrow's work has its time, and this hour has another use. I read quietly of a sheltering care. The language I use is gentle. It paints a picture of staying near, rather than removing every hurt. The care that watches does not demand perfection. It simply watches the one who sleeps. This watching is enough to change how the night feels. If fear creeps in, name it softly, not to feed it, but to notice it like a candle in a corner. Say the name inwardly, and then picture it beneath a gentle glass cloche. The fear is seen. It is not allowed to roam. That small image helps the mind stop giving the feeling so much room. I sometimes suggest a lullaby of thought. Think of one short phrase that can be repeated without strain. Let it be about safety and presence. Something like rest here you are kept. Say it once with the inhale. Let the exhale carry it into the dark. Repeat 2 or 3 times. The phrase is not magic. It is a tether. Practical posture matters too. If lying down, allow the chin to tilt slightly toward the chest. If sitting, lean back with a pillow under the lower back. A small weight across the abdomen can feel grounding. These physical details tell the nervous system that danger is not immediate. When sleep does not come quickly, do not turn to frantic worry. Instead, count slow breaths. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. Imagine each breath as a small stitch in a quilt. The stitches bind the hours together quietly. Overtime. The stitches build a pleasing pattern. Sleep often follows the rhythm. I tell a short story from my own late nights. There are evenings when the mind races with old mistakes. On those nights, I picture a low lantern on the windowsill. I imagine setting the mistakes down by the lantern. The light reveals them kindly. They are not erased. They become smaller when looked at in that soft light. The act of placing them near the lamp eases the chest. Prayer in this hour is short. It is not polished. It is a breath that turns outward, a whispered offering, a simple handing over. I suggest a one-line prayer in the mind. Keep watch tonight. The words do not need ceremony. They are the breath made into attention. Trust grows not from grand proofs, but from repeated small acts. Each night that a person lies down and chooses to rest into care, faith widens a little. The widening does not rush a miracle. It makes future nights more likely to hold peace. Habits of rest are slow and merciful. I offer an image of roots now. Imagine quiet roots under a tree. The roots hold, despite the storms above. The night may blow, leaves may ruffle. The roots do not move. Faith is like those roots. It anchors without being loud. Sleep can come when the roots keep the ground sure. If tears come, allow them. Tears are part of the body's way of releasing. They are welcome at the bedside. If the eyes remain dry, that too is welcome. The heart has many ways of softening. Neither is better than the other. Both are true. There are nights when the body needs help to fall into rest. A warm drink, a slow stretch, a soft melody. Choose one small aid. Keep it simple. Do not make a performance of sleep. Let the aids be servants to the quiet, not the masters of it. I read a closing line that holds the room. It speaks of lying down and sleeping in safety. The promise is present tense. It is not a future unreachable. It is now. Let the idea sink into bones rather than spinning in the head. Feel its weight in the ribs. Let the breath answer. Before I close the book, I place a hand on the cover and stay silent for a moment. Silence, like a soft cloth, collects the words. Hold the hush for 3 slow breaths. Inhale a come. Hold. Exhale and let the shoulders fall. I leave a short blessing to rest on the edge of the night. May the body relax. May the mind find stillness. May the presence that watches be a steady companion. May the sleep that comes be gentle and healing. When you are ready, allow your eyes to close. Let the lamp be the small shore you leave behind, not a barrier. If sleep comes quickly, let it be embraced. If wakefulness stays, let the calm remain like a small lantern by your side. I close the Bible softly and keep my voice very low. The room holds the pause. I will return with the same steady tone when the night leans nearer to morning. For now, rest into the watchful care and let sleep come at its own pace. I sit with the book open and the lamp low. The room breathes with the pause. Tonight I tell a story. It is a quiet story. It is about a person who once could not sleep. The story came to me in the soft hours. I read it aloud for you now. She is someone I know. I call her by no name tonight, because the story is meant for many. Her nights were full of small alarms. A creak in a floorboard felt like a shout. A distant engine hum made the walls feel close. Shadows pooled at the corners and grew tall. The heart in her chest ran like a hurried footfall. Sleep was a door that would not open. She tried many things at first. She counted numbers until the numbers blurred. She tried long lists of tasks to tire the mind. She waited for the right time and the right temperature. None of it stayed. The fear returned like tide water. Each night was a repetition. One evening she sat with me at a small table. The Bible lay between us like a steady lamp. I read a few slow lines, and then I listened. Listening matters more than clever advice. Her words were few. They sounded like small stones dropped into the hollow of the room. I held them without rush. We began with a small ritual, not a theatrical thing, something quiet and certain. She chose a lamp that gave a soft pool of light. The lamp was warm, not bright. It did not chase the dark away all at once. It only kept a small circle. This smallness mattered. The light was a faithful friend at the edge of the bed. Next came a short breath practice. Inhale 4 counts. Hold a small beat. Exhale 6 counts. I ask you to breathe with that rhythm now. The longer exhale is like a slow tide, drawing back. The body yields to it. The jaw unclenches by the second round. The shoulders drop an inch or two. The practice is short, and the body answers quickly. She also chose a stone, a smooth stone she kept on the night table. The stone was not a charm. It was a simple object, with a quiet job. When fear swelled, she touched the stone. Her fingers learned the stone's cool curve. The touching became a small anchor. The mind could come back to the curve of the stone, and that return steadied the pulse. There was a prayer she kept short and plain. Not a long speech, just 3 words in the mind when the dark pressed hard. The words were not clever. They were close. You can use any short phrase that fits like a palm to a cheek. She said hers slowly in the mind and let it rest. The repetition was like a small drum that kept time for a trembling heart. I read to her from Scripture each night. I do this for you as well. The passages were simple and spare. They spoke of watching hands and steady footsteps. They did not promise immediate erasure of fear. They promised presence. She let that promise sit in her chest, like a low lamp beside the one on the table. She practiced a small act of handing over. Each night she pictured placing the worry into her open hand, and then giving it to the one who keeps watch. Sometimes she pictured a gentle hand taking it. Sometimes she pictured a wide horizon that swallowed the anxiety into its light. The imagery is not magical. It is a way of moving a burden from a cramped pocket into a wider place. The nights did not change all at once. At first the practice gave only a little ease. The lamp still needed relighting. The breath still needed coaxing. The stone sometimes slipped from her fingers. But the pattern repeated. Small kindnesses to herself multiplied. Each night she practiced the same soft motions. Gradually, the edge of the fear grew blunter. There were moments that mattered more than others. Once, after a long day, the fear flared like a bonfire. She sat up and reached for the stone. Her hands shook. She pressed the stone until the knuckles whitened. Then she drew 3 long breaths, said the short prayer, and placed the stone back. The tremor ebbed. The alarm did not stop having existed. It simply became smaller in the face of the practiced calm. Another time she woke in the deep of night and found the lamp had gone out. The darkness felt louder than ever. She did not leap up. She felt for the stone and for the book. She turned to a short passage and read it with a low voice. It was not a sermon. It was a voice beside the bed. The words wrapped around the worry like a soft cloth. She slept again. She also learned to tend her body through the day. Night fear often grows from daytime neglect. Rest during the day. Gentle work. Small walks. These things made the night less hungry. A tired body is not the same as a fearful body. When the bones feel rested, the mind follows. The practices of day and night became a gentle economy that paid dividends in sleep. One small change helped more than anything else. She began to keep company with grateful thoughts. Not a long list. One small thing each night. A cup of tea. A friend's voice heard on the phone. The warm place of a favorite chair. Naming one small good thing before sleep did not erase the fear. It balanced the scales. Subtly. On many evenings, the light of a single gratitude tugged the mind towards gentleness. Healing in the dark is slow and tender. It is not always dramatic. The night fear did not vanish in a single act. It softened in the way frost melts thin at first. Then deeper as the sun keeps working, There were nights of setback. There were nights when the old pattern returned like an old weather. Each time she returned to the lamp, the stone, the breath, and the short prayer. Each return was itself a small triumph. One night stands out for me. She lay down, and the first hour was restless. The second hour brought a tightness like a fist. She reached for the stone and did the breathing. Then she pictured the watchful hand taking the worry. Her eyes closed not because the night was perfect, but because the fear had companion now. She slept with the lamp low and her hand on the stone. Morning came with a gentle light. The relief was quiet. It was not jubilation. It was the steady satisfaction of a burden carried a little less alone. What changed most was not the absence of nights that felt afraid. What changed was the posture toward night. She no longer saw the dark as a challenge to fight alone. She saw it as a place where presence keeps time with the heartbeat. Trust grew like slow roots. The practice of placing a small burden down each night made the chest less crowded. The breath lengthened. The eyes closed with less resistance. I tell this story because it is near to the truth I read in Scripture. Trusting a faithful care does not mean we never tremble. It means someone stands in the doorway while we sleep. The presence steadies the watch so that the heart can rest. For her, that presence was not merely an idea. It was the lamp, the stone, the short prayer, and the steady voice that read the word at the bedside. If you are carrying a night fear tonight, try a small version of what she did. Choose a steady lamp. Hold a plain stone or object. Breathe slowly with a long exhale. Say a short, honest phrase in your mind. Read a few lines that speak of care. Place one small gratitude beside the worry. Do this not as a performance, but as a patient habit. I close this part with a gentle benediction. May a steady presence stand by your bed. May a soft light keep the edges of the dark from biting too deep. May one small habit anchor the heart when fear comes. May your breath find room and your sleep be gentler tonight. I lay the book down softly and keep the lamp on a moment longer. The room holds its hush. If sleep comes now, let it be welcome. If wakefulness remains, let the quiet of this story sit with you as a companion. The night listens, and you are not alone. The lamp is low. The book rests on my knee. A long evening has given way to this quiet hour. Breath slows. Muskel loosen. The world outside the window keeps its steady noises. Inside, a softer rhythm holds us. I bring a line from the Scriptures that always feels like a new dawn. It says that love keeps faith and that mercy is renewed each morning. I do not make a sermon of it. I let the promise sit like a small seed at the edge of sleep. The idea is simple. Mercy begins again with the sun. Imagine the first light across a sill. It does not demand explanations. It enters gently. It lifts the curtains and reveals what is already there. The light does not erase scars. It softens them. It bathes the room in a possibility that did not exist an hour before. I read these lines slowly. My voice is steady and even. The words are an invitation rather than a charge. Each sentence waits in the hush, so the heart can answer in its own time. Allow a short pause now. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Let the lungs be small, regular waves. The thought that mercy arrives anew each morning has practical weight. It means that tired choices do not have to define every coming day. It means a worn heart can sleep, knowing there will be a fresh beginning without proving worthiness. This is a comfort that humbles and steadies. It gives permission to close the eyes without finishing the whole list. Before sleep, a small practice helps. Picture the next morning as a small plate on the bedside table. Into that plate place one small intention, not a plan for the entire life. Just one tiny hope. A single intentional thing. Speak kindly. Take a walk. Try again. Put this intention near the pillow. Let it be the thing morning will find first. I sometimes ask the hand to do the work. A folded slip of paper works well. Write one short word or phrase. Keep the handwriting slow and quiet. Fold the paper and slide it beneath the mattress or tuck it under the lamp base. The placement is not about superstition. It is a gentle tether. It reminds the mind, upon waking, that mercy is already waiting. If words feel like too much, use an object. A small pebble, a ribbon, a seed. A tangible thing on the nightstand becomes an emblem of newness. At dawn, the hand meets the object. The motion is soft. The body reads the gesture as permission to begin again. The habit rewires worry. The hand learns that morning is an ally, not an enemy. Mercy renewing each morning does not promise instant fixes. It promises a steady scaffolding. Small things change with time. A sleep that comes on one night may be followed by a restless hour the next. The promise does not demand perfect rhythm. It only insists that hope is not used up. There is always another morning where small mending can start again. Keep the language of the inner voice kind. Replace harsh verdicts with short truths. Tonight, when harsh sentences rise, answer them with a soft phrase. Simple examples work. Mercy is here. The morning comes. Say the line once with the inhale. Let the exhale carry it through the ribs. The body listens to tone. Kindness, spoken inwardly, affects muscle before reason can act. I offer a short visualization that settles quickly. Picture a plain horizon. The first thin band of light appears. It spreads. The color is not bright at first. It is the color of patience. See mercy as that light. The light passes over yesterday's mistakes and does not hide them. It warms them. The warmth loosens the tightness in the chest. Breath moves differently when the ribs feel a gentle warmth. When regret arises, keep it small for tonight. Take one regret and imagine laying it on a low table in the mind. Then see the dawn move across that table and touch the regret with a pale hand. The regret does not vanish. Its edges come into softer focus. The act of seeing it less jagged matters. It becomes something to tend, instead of a weapon to wield against the self. There is comfort in rhythm. The cycle of day and night already mirrors a greater pattern. The body wakes and rests. The mind tightens and releases. The world has seasons. The evening gives permission to stop striving. The morning gives permission to resume with fresh allowance. The faith that mercy is renewed simply anchors this cycle with an extra hand of kindness. Keep the breath slow and small as the practice continues. Inhale gently for 3 counts. Hold a quiet half beat. Exhale for 5 counts. The longer exhale invites release. Repeat this 3 times. Each repetition is a small acceptance. The breath becomes the bridge between the ending of one day and the beginning of another. If the mind wanders to long lists, practice a brief ritual of setting one list aside. Picture placing the mental list in a shallow box. Close the lid. Promise to open it after a morning's light. This small act reassures the nervous system. It is not avoidance. It is an agreed pause that honors limits and trusts tomorrow's clarity. A habit of gratitude pairs well with the promise of new mercies, not a long inventory. One small, true observation is enough. Name it gently, the warmth of a cup, a kind voice, the firmness of a chair. Place this small gratitude beside the intention on the bedside table. Gratitude and mercy together change the tone of waking. Morning finds a heart that already knows it is given something small to steward. Gentleness toward others benefits from this frame. If a relationship strained today, do not attempt grand repair tonight. Choose a modest intention for the morning instead. A short, patient word. A quiet act of service. The morning's mercy supports the small, brave steps that mend what larger speeches cannot. Repair begins in habit, not in heroics. I read another short line from Scripture and let its cadence rest in the room. The passage speaks of faithful love and steady mercy. Its language is not a lecture. It is a steadying hand at the edge of the bed. Allow the words to echo like a distant bell. The echo does not demand immediate understanding. It simply offers a presence that remains. Sleep often comes more readily when the mind trusts that a new start will be possible. Trust is a muscle. It grows with small repetitions, each night of setting a gentle intention, each morning of meeting that intention with quiet mercy. Strengthens the habit, over time. The pattern becomes familiar, and the body answers with easier rest. If tears come, let them be. They are a language for the soul learning to let go. They do not indicate failure. They indicate change happening. If the eyes stay dry, that is also welcome. Rest has many expressions. Neither is a better sign. Both speak of honesty before comfort, before closing the book. Place a last small image on the bedside table of the mind. See the horizon with a single wisp of gold. That wisp is the first mercy of morning. It is waiting, patient and sure. Tuck your chosen intention beside that wisp. Let the two rest together as the lamp dims further. I give a brief blessing now. May the mercy of each new morning find its way to the ribs. May the first light ease the tightness inside. May the small intention chosen rest on the bedside, like a promise kept by the day. May the breath be gentle, and the heart willing to begin again. The lamp holds its low glow for a few slow breaths. The book closes softly. When the voice returns, there will be more slow reading and a steady walk toward morning. For now, place the small stone, the folded slip, or the ribbon where the first light will find it. Sleep if it comes. Trust that mercy is waiting when the sun lifts the curtain. The new beginning comes again and again. Patient and kind. I keep the lamp low and the book open. My voice is slow and steady. I ask for one breath with me. Inhale gently. Hold a soft beat. Exhale long and easy. The breath becomes our small anchor. Tonight, I bring a simple practice. It asks you to picture a presence beside the bed, not a distant idea, a close presence, warm and steady, a hand at the edge of the blanket, a quiet light, just out of bright view. The presence is patient. It watches the sleeper. It guides the dreaming. I read a passage that speaks of a near comfort. The lines describe a steady companion. The companion walks the night and keeps careful watch. I do not recite the verse word for verse. I let the sense of it rest in the room. Think of a shepherd who knows each sheep by name. Think of someone who knows the shape of every worry you carry. That knowing is tender and real. It is not performance. It is presence. Place your hand over your heart. Now, feel the slow beat below the palm. Imagine that beat heard by the presence at your side. The rhythm answers. It is not loud. It is an echo that says, I am here. Breathe, and let that echo match your breath. Inhale. The presence leans a little nearer. Exhale. It settles more firmly beside you. Invite a vision in the mind. See a small lantern set on the floor beside the bed. The lantern sends a soft halo of light. The presence sits within that halo. It does not glare. It only keeps a circle where safe things can live. In that circle, dreams turn gentle. Harsh images lose their edge. Bad scenes soften and fold into learning or rest. The lantern is both guard and guide. As I read, imagine the dreams as small boats on a calm sea. The presence is like a gentle hand steadying the rudder. Waves do not disappear. They transform. They become part of a slow travel. The hand guides toward a shore where peace waits. The boats carry memories, hopes, and fears. None are left afloat without care. Every craft gets tended. If a troubling image visits tonight, picture it as a paper lantern placed on that sea. The presence lifts the lantern and carries it to a quiet cove. There, the lantern rests on the sand and cools. The heat of the fear lessens. The mind can breathe. The body relaxes. This is not magic. It is an imagination practice that trains attention and yields peace. I speak slowly. And then I read one more comforting line from Scripture. The passage invites the weary to come and find shade. It speaks of a steady gaze that welcomes the tired. Let those images tuck into the ribs like a small cloth. The cloth does not cover everything. It only covers the places that ache enough to need warmth. That covering is enough for now. Now a short guided breath for drifting toward restful dreams. Inhale softly for 4 counts. Hold, a quiet beat. Exhale for 6 counts. Imagining the breath painting a pale line of light across the pillow. Repeat twice. With each cycle, the mind tends to loosen its grip on the day. The body answers with small changes. The shoulders descend. The jaw eases. The breath finds a calmer pace. As the breath settles, invite one short phrase into the mind. Keep it tiny. Something like, stay near, or guard this night, or guide my dreams. Say the phrase slowly with the inhale. Let it rest on the exhale. The phrase is not a test. It is a small sending of hope. It tunes the heart to the idea that the presence is active in sleep, not passive. If images of the day flood in, treat them as visitors. Let them come through a doorway and then move onward. Picture the presence walking beside each image. The presence nods and then opens a new door for the image to leave through. Nothing is struck down. Nothing is denied its story. Each scene simply moves toward a kinder framing. I remind you that the presence hears more than words. It hears the quiet turns of the heart. It reads the unspoken sentences folded under your ribs. You need not explain everything. A single breath given in honesty is enough to call the presence's attention. Let the heart practice that small calling tonight. A gentle practice for guiding dreams toward positivity may help. Think of one safe scene you would like to visit. It could be a field of low grass. It could be a slow river with a soft bank. It could be a porch swing on a mild afternoon. Choose one simple image. Hold it for a breath. Picture the presence placing your hand in that scene. See the scene brighten with the presence's nearness. If sleep comes quickly, the practice remains as a seed. If sleep does not come, the scene stays available. Return to it if the mind stumbles into anxious loops. The repeated return trains the night to favor kinds of images that soothe. Autumn, the brain begins to prefer gentler narratives in dream. Sometimes dreams bring healing. They do not always make sense. They may arrange memories in new order. The presence helps the rearranging be kind. Imagine the presence as a quiet editor of dreams, not erasing meaning but choosing gentler phrasing. What was jagged becomes smoother. What was sharp becomes an edge that wakes to learning rather than panic. I read a short prayer for the night. The prayer is plain. It asks for closeness. It asks for guidance through the dark. It asks that mercy meet the mind in the places that fear visits. Hear the lines as a hush. They are not a liturgy to perform. They are an offering to make once and then rest into. If you prefer to speak one simple sentence aloud, do so gently. You might say, "Watch with me," or "Be near my dreams." One small sentence is enough. The presence attends to the heart's tone more than to the elaborate content of words. A soft voice makes the room safer. Practically, arrange the bedside for rest. A cool glass of water may sit within reach. A folded blanket may be close at hand. A small object, a smooth stone. A rosary. A ribbon can be a tactile reminder of the presence. Touch it once before you lay your head down. Let the touch be a promise to your body that someone is near to tend the dreams. If fear wakes you in the night, do not be harsh with yourself. Sit quietly. Breathe the small pattern again. Place a hand on the heart. Imagine the presence leaning in like a steady neighbor at the window. Let the presence hold the fear for a moment. Then release it back to the bedside table. You do not have to carry it alone. I read one more short passage about rest. It talks of the faithful guard who keeps watch at the small hours. The language is simple and sure. It reminds us that waking and sleeping are both seen. The quiet guard is not alarmed by occasional unrest. It stays patient and repeats its vigil. Let that image be near as your lids grow heavier. Before I close this part, I invite a brief blessing. Hear it slowly. Let each line be a small settling. May this night give you dreams that teach and soothe. May mercy meet the spaces that ache. May a quiet presence rest beside you and guide each wandering image toward peace. May your sleep be restful and your waking gentle. I lower my voice to a very soft tone and pause. In this pause, take one last deliberate breath. Inhale and imagine the presence leaning closer. Exhale and set the day down on the bedside table. Wrapped in trust, the lamp is low. The book rests. The room keeps its hush. When my voice returns in the final part, we will offer a closing blessing and move slowly toward morning. For now, allow the presence to stand guard. Let the dreams be guided toward peace. Sleep as you are able. I remain here with the book and the gentle lamp, watching with you. I sit very still for this last part. The Bible rests where you can sense it. The room keeps its hush. I let my voice stay low, and even this is the closing hour. I offer a blessing first. Hear it as a simple promise, not a test of belief. May your night be gentle. May your breathing find a slow, steady dide. May tension loosen from the shoulders and soften from the jaw. May the places that feel raw be given a quiet hand to hold them. May you feel surrounded by God's love. Imagine that love is a wide, steady light at the edge of the room. It is not bright to blind. It is kind enough to warm and patient enough to wait. The light does not chase away everything that hurts. It simply keeps you from being alone with your weight. I speak of mercy now. Mercy is not sudden erasure. It is a steady tending. Think of a pair of hands that mend without hurry. Mercy meets regret with small acts of care. It does not insist on a ledger. It brings a balm where the skin is bruised. Let that reality sit with you as you make room for sleep. I give thanks for this time together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for bringing your honest heart into the hush. Sharing these quiet minutes matters more than it seems. Each breath you offered is a small gift. Each moment of attention teaches gentleness to the body. I also thank you for the courage to face what is hard. The night often feels like a wide, dark. Choosing to bring what troubles you into the light of prayer or quiet attention is brave. You do not have to be whole to receive care. You only need to be willing to let someone watch with you. If you carry the desire to help others, let this hour move you gently outward. The healing you receive is not only for you. It can be shared in small ways. A short note of kindness, an offered cup of tea, a brief phone call to a friend who sleeps poorly. These acts do not demand grandeur. They show presence. Practice a small, simple habit to pass along. Read a short line that comforts to someone who needs rest. Sit with an elderly neighbor for 5 minutes and listen without trying to fix anything. Bring bread to a tired household. Leave a bowl of soup on a doorstep with no expectation. Small kindnesses teach the world how to be gentler. If you feel able, tell one person what brought ease tonight. A single phrase may be enough tonight. Help me rest. Hearing that may encourage another to try. Do not feel obliged to make an argument. A quiet testimony invites more softness than a sermon. Sharing is a tender relay. Pass the calm forward when it feels right. I offer a few practical reminders before the last blessing. Keep the light low. Make a place that signals rest. Choose one short phrase you can repeat in the dark. Keep the promise to yourself small and kind. Do not demand immediate transformation. Habit grows slowly. Mercy is patient. If you wake in the middle of the night, do not scold yourself. Breathe slowly. Notice the body more than the thinking mind. Place the attention on the chest or the inside of the wrist. A single, small act of calm is often enough to begin another descent into rest. You can do the same thing again and again. That repetition is mercy in motion. I remind you gently that forgiveness is a practice, not a single event. Offer yourself one soft sentence before sleep. Name one small wrong, and then, if you wish, let it rest for the dark. Tomorrow may hold the work of repair. For tonight, accept the relief of a moment of rest. Now a short spoken blessing. Listen slowly and let each line land. May mercy quiet the places that ache. May rest come more easily than it has lately. May God's love surround you like a warm covering. May your breath be steady and your heart know company. May peace keep watch while you sleep. I pause now and hold a silence long enough for the blessing to settle. In the silence, you may speak a private word. You may breathe. You may fold the moment into a small prayer of your own, if you choose. Say the one sentence that arises in your chest. Keep it simple. Keep it true. I want to say one more thank you. Thank you for inviting me to read. Thank you for trusting the words. The time you gave is a mutual gift. I am changed by the quiet as you are. The reading we do together is both a habit and a hymn. It trains the heart in a slower way of being. Before I close the book, I invite you to imagine one small act tomorrow. Not a dramatic change, a modest step, a message to a friend, a pause before replying, a short walk that lets the lungs reset. Small choices compound into healing. Let tomorrow be room for that little beginning. If you keep this hour as a habit, you will notice the change. The rhythm trains the nervous system. The regular presence of quiet words eases the muscles that hold too tight. You will not require perfect nights to be moving forward. You will be practicing mercy. I also encourage you to pass this practice on. Read to someone who needs a calm voice. Sit with a child who fears the dark and read one gentle line. Offer the same simple blessing you hear now. Teaching someone the rhythm of slow breath and kind words is giving them a tool for many nights. I close with an intentional action. Take one deep, careful breath with me now. Inhale slowly. Feel the belly rise. Hold a soft beat. Exhale long and let the shoulders fall. Let the breath mark the end of this hour and the beginning of rest. The Bible closes softly. The lamp remains for a moment more, a small witness to the hush. In a little while you will put out the light and sleep. Do so with the knowledge that you are not alone. A faithful love keeps watch. Mercy accompanies the small steps. Hope is patient. I will not say many words after this. The ending is meant to be simple and clear. Sleep now as you are able. receive what peace comes. If morning finds you, take the small intention you chose and meet it with patient hands. If night comes again before morning, return to this hush. The quiet repeats its invitation. Thank you for sharing these hours. Thank you for the trust. Go into the night held and not alone. Good night.